everyone and welcome back to Enkae Prestige Motors, where myself and Jamal have got another car comparison video to bring to you today. And today, it's the battle of the supercars. So, as you've just seen, the two cars that we've got for you today are powerhouses. I've got a 2016 Audi R8, a V10 5.2 litre engine, which is absolutely magnificent to drive, and I would argue looks a lot better than what Jamal's brought today. Jamal, what have you brought?
I've got a Mclaren 540C, and now this car is absolutely beautiful. 3.8 litre engine, turbo, and the way it delivers the power, this is a true race car for the road. And the way it sits on the road, the way it looks, I think it's just miles ahead of the Audi R8.
So we're going to pit them against each other. Firstly, just going off looks, I will say on the way here I felt like the ugly sister at the back because everyone was looking at your car, Jamal. Not really anyone bats an eyelid at an R8.
It just has the presence, and having the carbon tub and the way the McLaren sits on the road being so low. I mean, they're both obviously mid-engine supercars, but the way that the McLaren sits on the road, it just really has that presence, and especially when you get out, you've got the scissor doors, so just another level entirely. It's
a very safe supercar. That dog prefers the R8. It's a very safe supercar, is the R8, isn't it? It's it'll do the job, it'll keep you on the road, you don't really feel like you're
very functional. I think that's the key word. It's functional for different types of body sizes. Like yourself, you're quite tall, may not fit in the McLaren, but at the same time
I can fit in there, it's just getting out.
And I think at the same time the R8, it just adheres to someone who wants the supercar experience but doesn't want the faff.
Yeah, I'd entirely agree with that. I think body styling wise, I much prefer the Audi R8. I think it looks nicer, but I think the McLaren just holds that wow factor.
I mean, the way that I would compare these cars is this is like a cheetah, athletic, fast. That is like a Wolverine in a tuxedo. Just
100%,
got the power, got the strength, got the sound, but looking smart.
It's like Batman.
Yeah.
No one even knows what it is, but yours is full on Spider-Man, mate.
Yeah.
Full on Spider-Man. Everyone knows what that car is about. So, power-wise then, I think you've got me here. Yeah. I do think you've got me here.
Entry
I've got
level.
533 brake horsepower, like we say, 7-speed transmission, 533 brake horsepower from that V10 5.2 litre engine, and I top out at about 199 to 201 miles an hour. It varies wherever you look, but that is less than yours.
Yeah, so with the McLaren, I think the engine itself, the amount of torque, it's providing 560 brake horsepower and about 450 pound-foot of torque. And being so light, it's just an adequate amount of power, and especially for the entry-level McLaren, it just sits a little bit higher than the entry-level R8, so in that regard it still can play with the bigger boys. Now, the McLaren itself, it's rear-wheel drive, so it gives you a bit more of that racing feel. It's got track mode. The steering, McLarens have been well known, famous for their steering, so it's a hydraulic hybrid system that also gives you a feel, so heavier at faster speeds, but quite light when you're manoeuvring around, so it's a very clever system. Now, in terms of the four-wheel drive, I think that's where the Quattro, even though it is quite a biased system, so it's about 15 to 30% at the front.
Yeah,
and the rest
it's
at the rear.
for a supercar to have four-wheel drive, it's definitely put some weight on, and it's definitely a bit of a bigger boy, which, you know, is like we always do. I always go for the heavier car.
Exactly. The McLaren is the lighter car as well.
But the Audi doesn't feel as nimble as the McLaren on the cornering, I will say that. Especially at the lower speeds, it does feel quite heavy. But I like that. I like that it's just a normal car at the same time as well. And I'd much prefer to sit inside the R8 as well, because it feels a little bit cramped in the McLaren. But performance-wise, yeah, the McLaren's got the edge, and it sounds unbelievable as well. Jamal's one of those people that, as we're out and about, he'll give it a rev at the lights. I can't bring myself to do it. I just can't. There's obviously.
I think they're both. I mean, I would probably say the R8 does sound better. So I think we both enjoy each other's cars in that regard, and it's going to be a tough one. We're going to have to let the audience decide when we obviously give it a rev.
So on looks, my car wins. Performance, your car wins. I mean, you're probably not going to say my car wins on looks, but
I think the audience will also disagree. This is the ballerina. This is the centre of the show.
Yeah, so, it tries too hard. It tries too hard, whereas this is just luxury, comfortability, power, all rolled into one. And everyone knows what it's about, but you don't have to make a big song and dance about it, and that's what I like about it. So we're about evens by now. I think the viewers may go for the McLaren, but let's have a look towards the interiors then.
Yeah, certainly, let's go. Wasn't that an entrance into the Mclaren 540C? And you can see these beautiful scissor doors just give it a massive amount of character stepping into this car. Now, a lot of luxury cars, a lot of your standard cars have a lot of functions, but this is the pure driving experience. It's just overshadowed by the pure performance handling of the car itself. So you've got your seats here. These are leather wrapped with McLaren embossed seats. You've got your central cockpit area, so the standard McLaren tablet as you were, with your phone, media, radio connection, sat nav and apps in there. You've got your different modes down here, so to activate any mode you will press the main button. It's like a fighter jet switch, it really is, and then you can turn off or on your certain modes. So you've got sport, you've got track mode, and it just really takes the car into a different level of engagement and performance. You've also got your different drive selects, so they're on buttons. You don't have any sort of gearing, so it makes it a little bit more simple and straightforward. You've got your paddle shifts here, like a skeleton design, and they fix onto the steering wheel, so when you're turning, when you're manoeuvring the car, you can really take it to another level. And looking at the steering wheel itself, it's hollowed out and really gives it some racing and driving orientated experience. Now you've got the digital display in the race mode, your rev counter in full force, and again you've got your sat nav that you can also see there as well, and that pretty much covers the McLaren interior. Obviously the engine's behind it, you've got plaques showing you which car you're in, and the overall ambience of this car being so low, it's just another level entirely. So for me, the interior is just another level.
So, looking towards the inside of the Audi R8 then, very simplistic and very nice, I would say as well. It's got a Bang & Olufsen sound system, which is very, very nice in an Audi. The sound really pops here. It's got a virtual cockpit with a reverse parking camera as well, so everything's controlled from this centre screen here, which I really like. It's got the G-force monitor, it's got the really sportiness of it as well. The steering wheel I absolutely love on the Audi R8. Leather, which feels really nice, and then you've also got these two buttons here, obviously drive select and to start the car, and it just feels like a supercar. It feels like an F1 car with the steering wheel, and I think that's a really nice feature that they add on these cars. And you know what, with the Audi R8 as well, I'm quite a tall guy, which we do always mention, and supercars, a bit like my kryptonite, I can't really get in them, can't really get out of them. Whereas this is one of the more roomy supercars I have been in. I really struggle in that McLaren, but within the Audi, I think they really take that into account, and it's very roomy and very nice in here as well. You've got the switches here for your air conditioning and also your heated windows and stuff like that, which I think are designed really well. Also looks like a spaceship on the inside. Heated seats, front heated seats, so both are heated as well, so it does plough a lot of luxury into this car. Your flappy paddle gearbox just behind the steering wheel, Audi Quattro as always with an Audi, and it's just very, very well designed and intricate and very nice on the inside. I do like the gear select, the drive select as well. You have got sat nav if you do need sat nav, and it just combines everything that you need in the car into a supercar, which I think some supercars they lack, and they skimp out on the everyday life that you do need and everyday use that you get out of these cars, and this car highlights it perfectly, much better than the McLaren.
Well, now it's time to see how the cars match up in terms of sound, and first up was the V10 5.2 litre engine of the Audi R8. Next, it was the 3.8 litre V8 engine's turn in the McLaren. So that's how the cars sound, but how do they perform on the road?
The McLaren, to begin with, the car itself is a cockpit. It's just a pure driving experience. You've got the 560 or more brake horsepower, and it's all going to the rear wheel, so it's a pure driving experience. You feel like cars such as the McLaren F1, the McLaren P1, you get a taste for that in this car. So for me, it gives you that entry-level McLaren experience. It allows you to be part of that vibe at an entry-level price. It's something that you can pick up from Enkae. And with something like this, I think the main point, the selling point of the car is you can take it on the track. You feel like you're in the track mode wherever you go, wherever you're driving. People tend to obviously take a second look with the dihedral doors, and McLaren was the company that invented the carbon tub. Now this car, central cockpit area is encapsulated in carbon. It not only provides a rigid handling aspect to the vehicle, which is important for a fast car, but also it's just derived from the first ever racing car that had a carbon tub, the Formula 1 cars. And it gives you that full experience for something as little as under 80 grand. So for me, this car, it opens doors for your average road going supercar user, or even should I say your standard motorhead who wants to get into something a bit more powerful and a bit more exhilarating. Now, in terms of the McLaren itself, it's got a decent MPG. It's not the best in the world, depending on how you drive it. The handling by far is fantastic as well. So in the certain modes, so you've got your track mode, your sport mode for the suspension, you can actually change the amount of hydraulic fluid that goes into each corner of the car. And McLaren, again, was made famous for having that feature because it gave them independent suspension feel, which comfort comes to mind because your whole car isn't influenced by one bump. So that, for me, is a hugely important aspect as well. So you get a great ride quality of this car, and it just boils down to driving experience. I like the fact that this car does not have any other bits and bobs. So for me, it's focused, it's direct, and it's something that you can just get in and enjoy day after day after day. Just downshifting now, you can feel the car geared quite long for being 200 plus miles per hour. And the way that the ferocity of the gears change, it just blows your mind away. It really does. Just come coming on to second gear now. You can listen to that turbo. It really just pushes the car forward, especially when it gets into that higher RPM band. What an experience this car is. You really cannot even, for me, put it into words. I mean, the amount of money to buy a car like this, it's beyond me. You're spending 200, 300, even more, 400 to half a mil to get this kind of sheer driving pleasure. Wow. Wow is the only word for me.
So, in the Audi R8, and what I can truly say is this car is an absolute monster. A V10 5.2 litre engine that produces 533 brake horsepower, which we've already said, and it's just better in every way than the McLaren. Maybe not the look side, and I agree with you if you think maybe I prefer the McLaren's looks, but just listen to this. Oh my goodness gracious me, how good does that sound? And do you know what, I don't know whether it's because of the carbon pod that the McLaren sits in or some other factor, but the noise just isn't fed through to that McLaren cockpit, which is sad really, because I was speaking to Jamal after we drove to the location, and I was just saying how good that McLaren sounded, and he said he didn't really feel that inside the car, and I've just been in with him then, and you don't get the sense of the engine coming through the cockpit. It's like paying for something and letting other people enjoy it from the outside, whereas this, you get all the sound in the cockpit, you get all the sound on the outside, and I just think the car is so much, it's just so well rounded. It's a little bit heavy, well, it's a lot heavier because of the four-wheel drive system. It's a very safe supercar, but you've got things like electrically adjustable seats, which you don't really see on supercars. You've got things like heated seats. You've got reverse parking cameras, again, which you don't get on a McLaren, especially the 540. And as much as the McLaren is a very, very good supercar, this is cheaper. You can do a lot more in it for your money, and in my opinion, the engine sounds better, the engine makes you feel better. It's a clear win for the Audi. The McLaren is every petrol head's dream, but the Audi is so much more than just that. That it is fantastic, and it sounds unbelievable. On the roads, it's very nimble. The steering's a lot better than I thought it was going to be, because when you're going slower, it does feel a little bit heavier, and maybe it doesn't put performance first like the McLaren, but it still has a hell of a lot of performance, and it still cuts through the twisty bends of a country road just insanely well. Oh, I love it, absolutely love it. And I'm sorry, Jamal, you've lost. You've just lost. There's no better way to say it. And if you agree with Jamal that that's better than this, well, I wish you could be here with me right now, because it provides everything and then some. It's so fun. It is so fun, and the pull that it gives you is amazing. Just puts you back in your seat. You can feel every single bit of G-force hitting you, and then you get onto a road. The gear changes are so smooth. The car's already thinking about its next step before you've even thought about what you're having for dinner tonight. It is that good. And I'm sorry, it is a clear win.
Wow, what an experience taking these cars out, and a thrill in itself.
There's not a drug in the world, Jamal, that is better than that. I mean, two powerhouses going at it, and we're at the entry level of the supercar range as well. Imagine if we go a little bit further up. But yes, the Audi and the McLaren, we took them out on the roads, and do you know what? Just thought it's such a pleasure to do this. And to be able to drive these cars. And we hope that comes across to you as well, because we do really enjoy doing things like this. The Audi, for me, sounded better, especially from the inside. The engine, you can just feel it purring behind you, and I love that about it. The McLaren performs a little bit better.
I think it is a lot faster than McLaren. It's a lot more nimble, and when you're putting it into its sort of faster modes, track mode, etc., you get a feel for where this brand has come from, derived from Formula One, and that is their product. They're not making other cars, they're just focusing on the pure supercars, track cars and hypercars, and this gives you a taste of some multi-million pound hypercars.
Whereas I think the Audi, you can definitely see it comes from its roots, where it is just a very, very good car.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit too good and a little bit too safe, and it doesn't quite give you the supercar thrill that the McLaren will give you. But for me, in terms of what I would be doing with it and in terms of everyday life, I go for the Audi all day, every day. And it's been a really close tie.
It has,
really
and of course,
tie.
you know, I'd love to drive the McLaren no matter how impractical it is. Being seen in that car and just feeling the car itself is just a life-changing experience.
What cars do we drive in real life?
Cooper S.
Hyundai. So it's been nice for us to get away from it for a while, but we're not going to come to a conclusion as always. We need you at home to decide whether you prefer the Audi or the McLaren. Let us know in the comments below, and let us know which other cars you want to see us take out and which other cars you want to see go head to head. We're thinking the Audi RS3 Saloon Edition versus the Mercedes-Benz CLA 45, but it's been an absolute pleasure. If you are new around here, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and make sure you share it as well, and show all your friends this supreme content and supreme cars that we have here at Enkae Prestige. But thank you all for watching. From myself, George and Jamal, it's been an absolute pleasure. We'll see you next time.
It's been a pleasure, guys. See you next time.